What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode 3 of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott, and returning to Nostalgia Mania, Stichamania. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
I wish
missed you last week.
Here for last. I know. I wish I could have been here, but
had
some family stuff I had to deal with, man. So
understandable. Family always comes first. So completely understandable. Kind of wanted to kind of get on a rhythm and try to do this as on a as weekly basis as we can. Obviously, we probably won't hit every single week, but that's kind of the goal, is to bring you some nostalgic memories from the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. We're going to focus on video games, right? That's kind of main topic, and then we're gonna dive a little bit into some movies, some TV shows, toys, all that good stuff. So, yeah, man, it was fun last week. I had my sister kind of jump in with me, and she, even though she's a Gen Z, born after the era we even want to talk about.
Yeah.
But her dad was a big, Nintendo, Atari, Super Nintendo player, and he had all those systems growing up, and so the girls played it not as often as we did, but they have a little bit of background playing. So, yeah, man, let's kind of dive in. Like, what's not getting too personal, but I mean, what's been going on the last couple of weeks? I haven't talked to you. You haven't been on in 2 weeks, but what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Not really a whole lot, man. I came up to Kansas City on Tuesday. I spent the night. Came back here to home on Wednesday night, and yeah, man, I've just been working. Nothing really exciting. So
working.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've. I'm sure you've heard. I know you've heard, but people who've watching know that I hosted a podcast, the I-70 Hot Tag, co-hosted with my good friend Chase. Chase now is the owner of a wrestling company called Fountain City Pro. I am heavily involved with, and we just had our 4th event on Friday, and actually, this is a perfect opportunity. We're going to talk about 2 wrestling games, but we just crowned our very first Fountain City Pro champion on Friday.
Yeah, shout out to Camaro Jackson.
Camaro Jackson is a great guy, great wrestler, great performer. If you guys ever get the chance, go out there and watch him wrestle, whether he's under the Quadfather or the Grand Regent. Either gimmick, either moniker, he is a huge impact on whatever card he's wrestling on. So it was fun, man. Like I wish you were able to be there, because it was rocking. We set up the ring a little different. We put it more toward the center of the in the ballroom, so it's a little bit further to the bathroom side, I guess you could say. Yeah. And we moved the entrance from that door. We put it in the corner, so it was a little bit longer of a. It wasn't a straight shot to the ring, but it was a little bit longer of a walk.
Yeah.
To get to the ring. So, but anyway,
because. Yeah, so that you said that was your 4th show, and I went to the first 2, and of course because of work, I had to miss those 2. So because my only days off are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So
we run Fridays. So speaking of Tuesdays, next Tuesday, we are not going to be going live unless you want to do it on your own. But Anarchy, St. Louis Anarchy and Journey Pro are kind of merging to do a show in Kansas City. They've helped us out quite a bit, and we're gonna run. They're gonna run an event on Tuesday of next week. So over at the old Kansas Hall. So that's where I will be on Tuesday. You are more than welcome to if you're off and not got nothing to do, you want to travel down here. It's a distance, but if not, we will be thinking about you. Maybe we'll do it on Wednesday. The show on Wednesday next week, or we'll skip it. Who knows?
Whichever. Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to Autumn for filling in for me. I wanted to do that a little sooner, but that's all right. She was a good co-host, so she did all right.
She did good.
And also, speaking of which, I wanted to touch on the Ghostbuster Proton Pack that you showed up on screen. I actually do have it, and it is in the box. I paid more money for it than I'd care to admit. But it goes back to the the nostalgia thing of it. I had that when I was a kid, and I wanted a complete set of it, without it being broke, without it being tore up, cracked, So I do have it. So
I figured you did. So you must have bought it like fairly recent. It wasn't one you
No, I've had it. I've probably had it probably 5 years, give or take.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I meant. I meant as you bought it as an adult. You didn't.
Oh,
have
yeah. It's not, no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good deal. Well, yeah, like I said, we had fun last week. But if you guys ever miss a show or want to go back and watch anything like Stich did last week, all of our shows are broadcast live on YouTube at The Real Josh Elliott. Eventually, we will probably get our own YouTube channel for just this show specifically, but they're all housed out there. I've got a library that you guys can go look at. It's got all of our previous episodes of this, and then anything else that I've done.
Oh yeah, all two of them, all 2 episodes,
Full
library.
We're live on Twitch as well, which I don't have very many followers on that either. Mostly our old show was broadcast on the CR Media Chases Twitch page. So we'll see if we can build that one up a little bit. Still can't go live on Facebook or X. They're just, have some sort of criteria that we have to hit before we can go live. Probably a follower count or a post count, something like that.
Yeah, they probably have more restrictions giving what people like to post on Facebook Live. So, with all the bad stuff. So.
Yep. No, that's fine. We'll get there eventually. But right now, I just shared the YouTube on our Facebook page. So go give us a like, follow, share. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all at Josh Elliott or The Real Josh Elliott. You can follow the page at Nostalgia Mania. We've got a Facebook and an X page that we post. We're probably more active on the Facebook page than we are X, but go give us a like and share. Stich, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Facebook, at Derrick Stich. You can find me at X at Stichamania. I have a TikTok. I think it's at Stichamania as well. I would say what my AOL instant messenger name was, but that's
good old AIM.
Yep. Yeah. So.
What about the Zanga? You want to give everybody your Zanga account?
No.
Not
this week.
Okay, that's a next week kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Let's kick things off here. We already kind of talked about last week with being Super Mario Brothers. First week was Legend of Zelda. So we started off with Super Nintendo, went backwards and hit the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then now we moved a little bit forward, a lot of it forward actually, to the Nintendo 64. So we're talking about both WCW games. You can see there at the bottom of the screen, World Tour and Revenge. We'll go in chronological order just because it's easier to talk about. So we'll start with WCW versus NWO World Tour. And before we kick things off, I've put I've got a few video packages to play. But we'll kick off with the World Tour intro on Nintendo 64.
I assume that's the Giant doing God knows what. There's Hogan. Man. Oh, DDP and Bagwell. Man, those graphics were phenomenal.
Won't ever get better.
I think we said the graphics wouldn't get any better on every system and every game we played.
Yeah. No, I said it damn near every year, every football game that came out, game day or Madden, it was like, man, these are the best graphics they're ever going to be. And now look at it. So just kind of a brief overview of the game. It was released in December of 1999. AKI Corporation was the developer, along with Ace Entertainment. They kind of merged to make this game and release it. And as you know, I'm sure you know, and most of the people watching, know that this style of game, like the game engine itself, was kind of the backbone of future Nintendo 64 games, right? We're going to talk about Revenge here in a little bit, but it also, that game engine kind of was used also in WWF 2000. It was used in No Mercy. So this was kind of that first real taste of what that engine was going to be like and what wrestling games were going to be like on Nintendo 64. So, you were a WCW fan in the 90s, correct?
So the way it goes, when I was younger, I saw, I think, mostly WCW. And I remember being in school, and this kid had this NWO Wolfpack, like it was him and a group of friends, and it was like a club, I guess you want to call it. So, and they all liked wrestling. And so they were called, you know, they were the Wolfpack or whatever, or something like that. I don't know. My mind is a little foggy when it comes to that, just because it was so long ago. I had to name, in order to be in it, I had to name all the members of the NWO Wolfpack. And it might have, because I think that's who they liked the most, was the NWO Wolfpack. And I was able to do it. I mean, I guess I got in the group. I really, you know, like I said, my memory's a little hazy on that whole thing, but that's what kind of pushed me into watching more wrestling. So when I was younger, like somebody I really liked was Rey Mysterio, because I saw him. I specifically remember watching Rey Mysterio versus Kevin Nash on Nitro, losing his it was the pay-per-view after he lost his mask, and he ended up beating Kevin Nash. And so that was pretty cool. So I've been a big Rey Mysterio fan ever since. And so I don't know, lost my train of thought.
No, just your WCW history, yeah.
So until a buddy of mine, he was a big WWF fan. So the first match that I recall actually fully watching was Mankind versus The Rock at the 1999 Royal Rumble. It was the I Quit match.
Yep.
Because that was the first time I ever saw it. It wasn't live, of course, but it was after the fact. And then I started watching WWF or WWE. And then I was a WWE, WWF fan, ever since. I still kept up with WCW, but just not probably, enough or as much anymore. So,
well, by 99, it was pretty much on its way down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still kind of riding the high, but WWF was starting to win the ratings, and they didn't really get a huge dumpster fire until like late 99, early 2000. That's when it started going down. But kind of similar to only me. I was more like strict WCW. I jumped over when Hogan left, because I don't remember a time, at least in my childhood, where I didn't watch wrestling, honestly. And I was WWF, and I was a Hulkamaniac. I bought this down in Florida. And this is the WCW version of the shirt, because I watched more WCW. But he switched over in 94, 95. I think it was 95. And
he was filming Thunder in Paradise.
Yep. And I was hooked ever since. And I watched it all the way up until like roughly, I lasted about a year longer than you did. It was in about early 2000s is when I started doing the channel flipping. I never flipped channels live like most fans did in the 90s through the height of the Monday Night War. So, but this game was, like I said, came out in December of 1997, which was at the absolute peak of WCW, because this was literally 2 or 3 weeks before Starrcade 97, which saw Hogan and Sting.
Yep.
You've got like obviously that build, the match finished, whether you liked it or not, whatever, or the match itself, whatever. But that was the biggest pay-per-view in WCW history. You saw classic Dean Malenko against Eddie Guerrero. That match kicked butt. Saturn.
Those guys always put on great matches, man. They really did. Like that was, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit. If it's okay to say that anymore, his name, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, a lot of those guys, man. They just wrestled, and that was why WCW wanted those guys from ECW, because in the middle of all that hardcore wrestling, those guys put on matches, like real wrestling matches,
Yep.
So,
yeah, anytime you got to see any of those guys, I didn't back then in the live watching it. I was not as thankful and appreciative of what they were doing, because I was just like most kids. I was like, all right, give me more Sting, give me more NWO, give me more Goldberg, but really the stars of that era were the cruiserweights, the Dean Malenkos, the Jerichos, Eddie Guerrero. You saw Saturn versus Benoit on this event. What, like him or not, I was a big fan, obviously, but you saw Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. This one, the United States Championship match, DDP versus Kurt Hennig. That match tore the house down that night. So, like I said, man, right when this game came out, it could not have come out at a better time, because you were riding the best wave of the history of WCW at the time. So,
yeah, I remember what's funny is years ago, Chase gave me the poster, like a little mini poster. I think it actually came inside a World Tour. It was Big Show standing up, holding a controller. And then on the back of it, I still have it. I don't remember where it's at. I wish I would have thought about it until just now, and I could show, it on camera, but it's fine. But on the back, it had an advertisement for Starrcade. It said Hogan's a colorful guy, but his nightmare's black and white. So, and of course, he was NWO, so he was literally just black and white. So that was the zing on there, and it was it's still a pretty awesome little poster. It really is.
I used to have a ton of wrestling posters hanging up. I get the WCW magazines and I'd pop them out on the wall, most of the time. It depended on if I like the wrestler or not, right? So, and I wish I used to have a ton of the old WWF, like pre WCW, like back in like when Flair was there for that year and he won that Royal Rumble. I had probably 2 years worth of magazines. I have no idea where any of them are at right now.
Yeah, so I actually still have man, do I? I'm pretty sure I still have all my wrestling magazines. I'm pretty sure I do, because the first ones I started getting were the WCW ones. And when me and you met Lex Luger in the event at the Harrisonville Rec Center.
World League Wrestling. Yep.
Yeah, World League Wrestling. I couldn't remember what. Yeah, because it was Harley Race's foundation. And got Lex Luger to actually sign the cover that he was on of the WCW magazine. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I got a clip queued up. Let's watch a little bit of gameplay from World Tour.
All right. Yeah, I played a little bit, so little of this game that I really don't remember it hardly at all.
Yeah, and I got a story after this. I mean, I turned the volume down a little bit because all it is just you're going to see a little bit of them Sting versus the bogus Sting.
Because I actually had this. I actually had World Tour, or I'm sorry, I had Revenge before I had World Tour.
Yeah.
So I played the games backwards.
I mean, this is like one of the first games that you grappled, and then you had to push another button to do like a strong move or a light move, or and you had to memorize some of the buttons.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, man, I could still pick up Revenge, and I could play it with no problems. That's how much I played Revenge.
Yeah.
And I have both these games at my mom's, and I kind of wish I would have played a little bit better, and I wish I would have actually brought them just to show them on camera. I do have this little number though, my blue N64 controller though, and it's an official one. It's not one of those fake pre-made ones, and it still works. So probably shouldn't have wrapped the controller like that, but we're kids, we didn't know any better, and that was the best way we wrapped up our controllers. So
1000%. N64, you made the X, but every other one you just wrapped it up.
Yeah,
normally. And then you got the uppity kids that always said, hey, you're not supposed to wrap those. You're supposed to neatly fold them or whatever.
Yep.
And so just a little more history. This game sold 1.3 million copies in the United States. And at the time, that made it the number one selling wrestling game of its time. So it was the number one selling game of all time, wrestling game of all time.
Yeah.
It is the 31st best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time. So it's in that top 50.
It's a top 50. Okay, yeah, wow.
Top 50 N64 game. Yep. So and you talked about playing Revenge first. I didn't. I went from regular Nintendo to Super Nintendo, and then I jumped from Super to Sony PlayStation. Really? I actually did not own a Nintendo 64. I remember going to my buddy's house. His name was Kenny, and he owned both of these games. So did Bryce. He played Little League football with him, and he had both. He had Revenge and he had No Mercy, but I didn't own an N64. But I remember going to their house and having, 3 or 4 people and being able to plug 4 controllers in and do like a Royal Rumble or a tag team match 2-on-2. And you never did that before without an adapter. With Super Nintendo, you could play 4 players. But this was my first experience with playing 4 people at one time was World Tour. So super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I personally didn't. I mean, okay. I did own a Nintendo 64, but my dad had originally bought one because when my mom and dad, they divorced when I was 13. My dad lived in Grandview, and I went over to his house. And he had a Nintendo 64 all hooked up, had a few games with it. And that's how I was pretty much introduced. Well, I mean, other than going to Walmart and seeing being able to, play the free trial or, the actual game at Walmart. But that's pretty much how I fell in love with the Nintendo 64 and started playing it, was because of going over to my dad's. And then eventually my dad ended up giving me the N64. So it's a great system, man. Spent a lot of time on those games. So,
oh yeah, I hear a cat in the back. Oh, cat's meowing. So just before we get into the roster, because the roster was pretty extensive on this game, crapping out.
Yeah, you froze on me. You're good.
Sorry. Why does it always happen? It's always happen when I stream. It's the first game that you actually got to see the arenas. Like you were in Nitro. You know, you got to play at Halloween Havoc. It wasn't just a basic, a basic arena. You actually got to play in the things you saw on TV. So that was pretty cool. Basically what I wanted to talk about now was the roster, which had like 40, it had over 40 wrestlers, mixture of both WCW and NWO. It also had a bunch of fictional, if you remember, World Tour. And if my PlayStation version was WCW versus the World. And that was the game I played the most on PlayStation, at least the first part of it. They had fake or created wrestlers that looked eerily similar to the New Japan wrestlers. So like Takamichi Noku had a wrestler in there, Jushin Thunder Liger, but they weren't named that. They were named a fake wrestler character, right? They had the move set and everything. So I think Black Belt, if I remember in my research, Black Belt was actually Takamichi Noku. I couldn't find Jushin Thunder Liger, but he was in the game. So
you said this was, which game did you say this was?
This is World Tour.
Oh, okay.
World Tour. Yeah, it was that they had Revenge. We'll talk about. They actually had the names, the people in it. This one had them, but they didn't have the licenses to use them. So, and the World Tour had exhibition mode, it had tournament mode, battle royal, tag team, and then you actually had league challenge mode. I don't know if you remember playing league challenge mode, but it was like, I know you said you didn't play much of it, but this one was fun, dude. Because like you played like a series of matches. And you basically like get points for winning, and you keep ranking up, and then you'd actually get enough points, and you get to go for a championship title. So that was always fun to do, especially with multiple people. We'd trade off and rise up the ranks. So anything else you want to chat about with World Tour before we kind of move on to the pop culture?
Not really, man. I really don't have much to say on World Tour. I really don't. Like I said, I have the game, but I got it after, I'd been playing Revenge. So it was, I literally I have more knowledge on Zelda Link to the Past, the little knowledge that I have more than I do World Tour. Really? Which, the people watching are probably like, well, why would they do games that, both of them haven't played very much of? But you know what? That's all right, because as long as somebody watching that played it, then
this is what it's all about, man. Like we're not going to be just looking at games that, we can do our own research. We know what the impact of some of these games are. There's going to be games where I've never played, and like Stich is going to have a lot more experience with Revenge than I was. Cause like I said, I was a PlayStation guy. Both of these games I didn't play very much, but I played enough to know the impact of what it had for Nintendo 64 and wrestling games on that system in general. So let's move on to the pop culture. So let's got to go through what was released in December of 1997, and the movie that released in 97 was none other
Titanic.
Titanic. So this great movie. Great. I know probably everybody watching this has at least seen this at least once. But it was crazy that that movie is now what is that, 25 years old?
Yeah, I think they just had the 20th anniversary of it, 5 years ago, whatever it was.
So 14 would be 10, 04 would be 20, 94, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it's 16, 17 years old. So or 26, 27 years old. I can't math. I got taught from Ray Peck, so delete. So let's move on to the TV show. Let me know if you've seen this TV show, Mr. Stich.
Over the hills and far away, Teletubbies come to play.
Huh? Just a hole in the ground? That is, God, they look so creepy.
I had to, I don't know how strict the YouTubes are with the TV show theme song. So
yeah, no, that's fine. That's we probably don't need to hear it anyway.
Yeah, I did not watch Teletubbies. I was never a Teletubbies fan. As a kid, I watched more like Sesame Street. Obviously, by this time, I was not watching Sesame Street. This is I was over 10 years old, but Teletubbies came out. I was too old, so but I know it was pretty popular there for a little while.
Yeah.
So, and last but not least, let's see. Let me play this time. I'll give it away. The toy came out in December of 1997. So let's take a look.
Well, if it isn't Tamagotchi, her new favorite pet.
Yes.
So what's that make me? Fish sticks?
Oh, are you hungry?
Oh, no. By all means, feed it. Play till your heart's content.
Look, Goldie. I took good care of her, and she changed again.
Change? How about changing some water here?
Katie, Buzz is here.
So Tamagotchi can pause. I can pause, too. Want to see that again?
Tamagotchi, the original virtual reality pet. Your care determines the pets you get. From Bandai.
The Tamagotchi.
You know what? I actually still have one of those.
Original?
It's not a Tamagotchi. But yeah, it's original. It still works, believe it or not.
Have you kept it alive for 30 years?
No. No. So it's a dog. It's a dog one, and it was my uncle's, and I don't know why he had it, but yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, my I think they did a remake of it a few years ago. Might have been pre-COVID. And I got my wife one, and she got, because she was into it as a kid. And so I got it for her, and she did it for a while and kept it alive. And then just like all other Tamagotchis, it gets thrown in the drawer and never thought of again.
Yep, pretty much.
So yeah, that kind of wraps up. We had Titanic, Teletubbies, and a Tamagotchi, everything with a T, I guess, and World Tour. So let's move on to WCW NWO Revenge, which was released less than 1 year later. It
really?
didn't even go a full year. It was released in October of 98.
Wow.
So, which as we talked about earlier, the game World Tour was released at the pinnacle of WCW. This one was released still riding the high. Like by 98, they were still. I don't know if that was the end or it was very close, or maybe they've already started to lose some ratings to Raw, because Nitro had it for 83 straight weeks. Bischoff's gonna send me a note and correct me, but yeah, they won, and 98 was roughly right around that time they were starting to head downwards, right? This one, they were heading into Halloween Havoc, which you're going to see. It was I know you remember this because I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the main event was Goldberg versus Diamond Dallas Page, and the entire main event was cut off. We did not get to see it, and it ended. And nobody knew what happened. They did not time their matches right. They did not. And at the end of that night, the broadcast just shut off. There was no extension, nothing. So everybody and this played into the downfall of WCW, because not only did you just lose an entire pay-per-view's buy rates because you had to refund everybody that wanted a refund, and they sent them all out. And then you played that main event the very next night on Nitro for absolutely free. So you lost everything with that, just that one little mistake.
Yep.
So crazy how less than a year later you're at the top of your game and you're headed in a downward spiral. 10 months later. So, but doesn't change the fact, man. This one, this sold more copies than World Tour did. 1.88 million. It's the 22nd best-selling game in Nintendo 64 history, so it's almost breaking the top 20.
Wow, really? It only moved the sequel to it only moved up what, 10, 11?
Yeah, that was 31st. Yeah, that one was 31st. This one was 22nd, so it moved up 9 spots. Actually, when we talk about No Mercy at some point in time in the future, No Mercy is actually in the they're in the top 20. They may be close to 10. Like I think they're like 12 or something like that. So
No Mercy was a great game. We'll probably be covering that bad boy too.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. So let's start, man. I'll let you go. I've been talking for quite a lot. Tell me some memories and tell me what you got to say about one of your favorite games, Revenge.
So I loved playing Revenge. It was probably hands down at the time. It was my favorite wrestling game. It's one I spent a lot of time on. And okay, so I said I was dealing with some family issues, last week. So now I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this photo. I really am. But I have with me a photo of when I very first got Revenge.
Well, I'm gonna put you center screen. I'm gonna let you.
So, yeah, the teams in this photo that I'm rocking, considering the hat that I have on, it may, people will probably question it, but without further ado, here it is. So it's a little hard to see because of the glare. So there's Revenge. There's my blue controller. I'm not sure if it's the original controller or not, but I'm almost positive that it is. I'm rocking the Reds hat. Some stories behind me being a Reds fan was because of Deion Sanders. He played for the Reds. Well, and the jacket that I'm wearing is also a Cowboys. And in the background, there's a Cowboys. There's a Cowboys duffel bag, and I was a Cowboys fan because of Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is one of my all-time favorite players. He's probably top 2, top 3. But yeah, this was at my dad's house. And yeah, and this was I believe this was for my birthday. I'm pretty sure. And actually, I had an old friend of mine actually at my dad's with me. And when I opened this game up, I wanted to leave his house and go to my house, and I wanted to play it. That's how bad. And the whole time before I ended up leaving, I had the game in my hand, and I was just reading the box. I don't specifically remember opening it, but I probably did. Man, I stared at that thing so much. I was just, because I didn't have because that was after the time that he had actually given me the N64. And the funny thing about this photo is, I don't know if you can see with the glare, but there's the Super Nintendo right there.
Yeah, I see that. Yep.
And then there's the PS1. You can barely see it, but I have a better picture of where it shows those two systems on this stereo. But yeah, I felt bad. But I mean, there's a lot of Christmas stuff, so
I would assume
it probably was Christmas.
Yeah, because that makes more sense.
It was my birthday, but
the reason I think it's probably Christmas is because this was released in October, and you probably got it just a couple months later. Otherwise, you would have went almost an entire year to August.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I don't know why I was thinking. Now that I see the Christmas decorations in the background, I'm kind of like, oh,
yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe I had Christmas later at my dad's.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I know I've got pictures of me on Christmas and freaking out about games, and I was a big action figure fan. I remember getting the wrestling action figures and I still got a crate of them. Actually, they're upstairs in my kids' room now. I kept keeping them away from them, but then I was like, you know what? They're all opened. I tore them up to hell. I would get like little markers out, like they're like dry erase, but I would like put the red marker down and act like they were bleeding. And so the only ones that really are worth anything would be if they're in the package, and I don't have any of those. So I was like, screw it. I'll let them play with them. So
I have a few wrestlers out of the package, but it was like later in my life when I started actually collecting them, not ones that I had really as a kid. I didn't have any. I'm pretty sure I didn't have any wrestling action figures when I was a kid. Not that I can remember right offhand.
Yeah.
But I still have quite a few of those wrestlers still in packages. Because that was just and some of the ones that I've seen now, like how good they look and stuff like that. Like it's almost made me want to buy a few of them, like some of the Hulk Hogan's or the Kurt Angles or the Rocks. But then I'm looking at that price tag. I'm like $30 for something that's going to sit on the shelf and be looked at and collect dust. I don't know if I could do it, especially since, my love of wrestling has kind of faded over the last several years for me. But
I was going to get into that. I didn't have it in the notes, but I wanted to, this might be the best time to do it. Like, both of us were huge wrestling fans growing up, and everybody really, for the most part, everybody goes in and out of fanhood and fandom. We were really big as kids, and then we kind of fell off of it in, school or middle school, high school, or whenever you decided to fall out of it completely. So you are significantly now, at least, not into wrestling as much as say Chase or myself. I mean, look behind me. I know I'm backwards here, but this game right now is probably the start of why, and I know this sounds weird, but this is the start of why I started liking the television title design, because you can play for in a television title circuit to win that belt. And I used to always pick the world title, and for some reason the television title was the one that I like to use. So I've kind of already talked on my platform on the hot tag of kind of when I started falling out. When and why did you what was the factors of you kind of falling out and not being as into it as much as say Chase and I are today?
For one, older's the main thing. All the new wrestlers, all the different wrestlers to, keep up with. I don't think I really have a specific reason I fell out of it, but maybe just not. I don't know. Maybe just not really liking it anymore. I can't think of one specific reason why I.
No, that's a good enough reason, honestly. I mean, I still don't watch mainstream wrestling very much anymore. I'm more local independents now, and I'll sometimes catch like the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and then I'll catch like All In or All Out for AEW, some of the big ones that AEW puts on. But yeah, man. So let's kind of get back to the game. That's what we're here to talk about, right? The biggest thing for me, and the coolest thing for me, and I know this might sound weird, was not the gameplay. The gameplay was revolutionary. It was 10 months after World Tour came out, and it was they bettered it, obviously. But one of the coolest things for me for this game was it was the first time, really, for the most part, that you got to see entrances. In the game. World Tour did not have it. Revenge did have it. Yep, I've got a clip that will play that kind of shows one of the entrances, and we'll talk after. Nope, I'm sorry. I forgot to play this. This is the intro of Revenge. So
what's going on? Is it not going to play?
Did it play? Was it playing at all for you?
Yeah, it was playing. It looked like it was lagging a little bit.
Yeah, it's right as soon as I push play, like to bring it onto the stage, my internet starts crapping. Let's try it again. This isn't actually the entrances; it's the intro. So I forgot to play that before we started talking about it. Let me see if it'll play again.
Now there is music in this. Are we going to be able to? Are we going to be? I mean, it's just generic, run-of-the-mill music. So it's not like it's copyrighted, to the game specifically.
Yeah, I've if it doesn't keep skipping, I edited out the music.
Oh,
once it starts playing, I think I did. It's not.
Here comes the stinger.
Awful, man.
Ah, man, you need to buff up your internet, man. Get off that McDonald's Wi-Fi. Oh, it might be playing good now. Or not. That was supposed to be a bat. It always looked like a club, but it was supposed to be a bat. Well, it's definitely weird watching the video with
the wrong music, yeah. But anyway, and it keeps skipping real bad, so I'm gonna remove it. I'm hoping that let's show you guys real quick if it doesn't skip. So normally I actually just the last time you and I did this, the very first episode, I was on my gaming computer, and it threw the blue screen again. And I just got it back from repair. I just now got it back again, but I got it today. I have not even taken it out of the box yet. So normally I have it wired in with a Ethernet cable. Now I'm on my laptop and it's not. It's Wi-Fi. So probably why we're having issues. But let's see if the entrances will work. Let's cross our fingers.
It just says bake temperature minutes until cheese is.
It's not.
And
WCW sold out.
Oh yeah, this one has no music at all.
so the last one, okay.
Yeah, word to the wise. Definitely connect Ethernet on the next show.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Always Always hardwired. Always.
Because I mean, it's just fine until I start playing the music or start playing this. All right. Well, anyway,
one thing specifically that I didn't really like about the game that, it was the fact that, like, in order to get your time bonus, you had to wrestle for a certain amount of time in these matches. I don't know the exact like time or whatever that it was, but I think it was like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could either be close or I could be way off. 10 minutes, honestly, probably sounds about right. But then after you went over that time, then they would start subtracting from your overall score, because after the match was over, it kept track of what your score was.
Yep.
So
you always had a target to hit.
Yep.
I remember that. I remember that now that you mentioned that. So, look at the bottom right of your screen. You see the cover of Revenge?
Yeah.
Does something look weird about that? And I don't say weird. I guess does talking about the people on the cover. Is one
the fact that it's Hogan, Nash, Raven, and Goldberg?
Yeah, is one not like the other?
Well, Raven is just kind of the odd man out in that.
Yeah. So there was an interview, and I've got the interview clip. It's only like 30 seconds. But with the internet and me having issues, I don't think it's going to play. I'll try to play it and see what happens, but it's talking about why and how. It's somebody interviewing Raven. Yeah. And Raven talks about why and how he ended up on the cover of the Revenge game.
Well, definitely play it, because I want to see if it'll definitely play, man, because I'm really interested now.
Hopefully it doesn't skip real bad. So yeah. I haven't even played anything. It's already skipping.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Guys, that was also a fluke. That was because the guy.
I'm going to back it up.
What? The guy who created the game. Yeah.
All right. If it doesn't work, we'll stop it. I'm gonna.
Guys, that was also a fluke. That was because the guy who created the game, I was one of his favorite wrestlers. The guys used to hang out with like Jericho and Canyon and Conan and them. They Disco. They were like, "How'd you get on the game? Who'd you blow?" They're like, "One of these names is not like the other. You got Hogan, Goldberg, and Nash, and you." It's like that Sesame Street thing. One of these things is not like the other. And I really had no idea for the longest time. So the guy who invented the game came up and told me one day.
Wow.
I don't know how well that came through or not, but
that's one of his favorite wrestlers, man. Wow.
It's crazy. That's how Raven had no idea how he ended up on the cover until years later. He met the creator of the developer, and he said, "Yeah, you're one of my favorite wrestlers."
That's insane. Because there's plenty of talent that they could have not discrediting Raven by any means, because someone had to run his flock. It just so happens that it was him.
Yeah.
And from that flock, we got one of the greatest cruiserweights ever in WCW was Billy Kidman. He used to call his shooting star press a 7-year itch. And on this game, he would sit there and he would start scratching. That was one of his taunts that he would do. Like he was,
Oh man, what a game. I love this. Loved it.
Yeah, dude, it was such a great game. And you know what? I played it so much that I would go through the characters and I would edit their outfits because they had 4 outfits per guy that you could do. And the cool thing about it was you can mix and match outfits from like different players. So if you wanted, to see gosh, I don't know, Big Show and Goldberg's little Speedo, you could do that. That was definitely one cool thing. Or you could put some of the members just in like a t-shirt and jeans for like the NWO. And what's funny too is with the Game Shark, you actually got to put characters from the Game Shark that were technically in the game at one point, but then got taken out, like Wrath. Wrath was one of those players. And I don't really know why they decided to take Wrath out of the game, but with the Game Shark, you can actually have him. Now, one of his moves or his finishing move is messed up, and I used to call it something, but for the show, I'm not going to repeat that that move that I used to call it. But his move set, I believe, I don't remember if it was complete or not. So I don't know if they had his actual like finisher move, because honestly, I didn't know enough about Wrath to at the time. Well, still really to this day to know what his finishing move and some of his signature moves were.
Keep talking.
Wrath,
I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, Wrath was one of those guys. But you could also unlock some other stuff with the Game Shark because I had a Game Shark, and that's what I would do. I would sit there and use it and put Wrath, and that was the cool thing is that if you save the game or whatever, or if you use the Game Shark for Revenge or with Revenge, it actually saved Wrath as a character on the game because I think it was a save file if I remember right, but don't quote me on it because it's been a really long time since I've played Revenge. And the cool thing about that is in Kansas City, I'm not sure where it's at, but it's like a place. I think they do like video games and stuff like that, but they actually had a Revenge tournament there. And if I were to play in it, I'd probably do pretty good. At least I think I would. But when video games, introduced the online feature, you were like, oh, I'm really good at this game. I'm unstoppable. And then you play online on the newer games and you get totally destroyed because either A, they are better than you or they were cheating. So
that was my always go-to. If I didn't win, the game cheated.
Yeah. Or oh, it's lagging or, something like that. Oh, he's hacking.
Yep.
But man, sitting here talking about this makes me want to bust this game out and play it. I really, yeah. And I'll tell you what, they add this game to the Nintendo 64 expansion on the Switch. Mm-hmm. I will play this on the Switch, even though it probably will be a little hard with the controls because the controls are so different with these N64 games on the Nintendo Switch. Like I tried playing Star Fox. It was kind of hard to play. Tried to play GoldenEye 007. A little hard to play. And 1080 snowboarding. And see, that's the good thing is I still have those games on Nintendo 64 where I could just pull them out and play them. But the time it takes to sit there and take all those games out, hook up the system, plug it in, you're probably only going to play it for 15 or 20 minutes anyway. So you might as well not even take all that time to do it because all that time equals up to the same amount of time that you're going to play it. So, it's just pointless. But they do have the Nintendo 64 controller that you can actually purchase exclusively from Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch to play those said Nintendo 64 games, and the buttons and all that will match up. I'm just not sure how good the quality of the actual controller is. You know, if it'll feel the same, it'll be a little different. Because, you know, that's the bad thing is that when they remake games, they come out with stuff, is they change it, you know, like they'll redo it, but then like update the graphics, but then they'll just change it. And it's the same, but then it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I hate when they come out with these remasters or, you know, remakes, or, you know, it's just, it's not, and it's not the same.
It never is.
So, and of course, you know, when we're kids, you know, everything's always bigger and better. You know, we think it's the greatest thing in the world. But then as adults, we you know, we put it in, play it, watch it, whatever. And then it's just like, what is this? Why did I used to like this? Why did I watch this? You know, why did I play this? Like, we used to think this thing was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But then it's not. Hey, Autumn, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, there's our third co-host.
You know, I really thought, speaking of co-hosts, I really thought we would have gotten Chase to get in on this with us.
He probably would do it. I know he was busy today. His phone's been jacked up. So like the only way to get a hold of him is through Facebook Messenger. You can't call him, can't text him. So
that's weird. Well, let's try that Google phone.
Well, I think a SIM card's damaged or something. So I think we get him on for whenever we decide to do No Mercy, which might be a little ways down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, appreciate it. Never played these games before, but I'm here for y'all.
We'll appreciate that.
Hey, you were talking about Up, Up, Down, Down, I believe is the name of that place that had the Revenge tournament, and actually CSW, the company that Chase and I used to sponsor pre Fountain City Pro with the I-70 hot tag. Trinity actually went out there, and I think he was helping sponsor that event too with CSW. So I think you and I almost I think I messaged you or sent you the picture of it. I was like, let's.
Yeah, you did. I think I got busy or something happened, and I didn't, you know, I didn't go or whatever. So, but I definitely, you know, if I would have made it a point to actually go, I think it would have been cool.
Oh yeah,
you know, so
I would have just went just to watch. Like I don't think I would have entered because I didn't have these games. I played it a little bit, but I don't consider myself. Yeah. Now, if you would have played like Game Day '98 or something like that, like a game I played a lot, I definitely would have probably bought into that and actually try to do it. So let's oops. So I had to shift here because I moved my laptop over because like I said, my gaming computer was over here on the complete opposite end, which had my light and my camera. So I had to shift it over. It was about ready to die. So that's why it looks different. But let's just wrap this thing up here. We'll continue talking about the roster. So the interesting fact about the roster is that Ric Flair was not included in the game.
Yeah.
And it was because of the contractual dispute he was having with WCW and Eric Bischoff at the time. So, yeah, Flair was not in the game. And what we talked about earlier, this one had, you know, the first game right below me had 40 characters to choose from. The roster in this one had over 60. And the cool thing about this was you could actually wrestle with some of the New Japan wrestlers, like Masahiro Chono was in it. I believe Jushin Thunder Liger, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if he was in it or not, but you talked about Wrath. I think a couple of the unlockable characters included the only Glacier was an unlockable character, and so was Mortis, which Mortis and Glacier were two of the unlockables you could get in the game. So, which is always cool.
There were some other wrestlers There was actually some other wrestlers that were that they were actually both.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything wrestling related is probably mine. Yeah.
Yeah. There was wrestlers that were actually both on Revenge and on WWF Warzone. I saw the list earlier and I kind of glanced through it, but I don't remember. I think British Bulldog was one of them.
And did these two games come out fairly?
Yeah, because Warzone, because they were WWF Warzone was by Acclaim.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Warzone. Yeah, if we do more wrestling games, we definitely should cover Warzone and Attitude, because those two are kind of, one's, like the Attitude is the predecessor to Warzone.
It's kind of like these two here.
Like these two,
yeah. We'll probably cover both at the same time. We'll probably do No Mercy by itself if we decide to do it later down the road. I don't want to get too much. Obviously, you and I are both big wrestling fans. I don't want to continuously do wrestling games. But we'll definitely venture back into it at some point. So I keep clicking the wrong button here. So again, like I said, this I know you can't see it anymore because I'm in the wrong spot. The television title behind me, this game kind of started my fanhood of that. My liking of the design. The big thing was the championship mode, which is different than the league challenge from the previous game. You could pick, whatever title you wanted to go for, and then you'd go play. You go play for that belt.
Because you had like I think you had to play like 5 or 6 matches, and I think as the further, if I remember right, the further titles you got up to, you start at the lowest and go to the highest. I think you had to do more matches per championship round. If I remember right.
I think you're right. I think like the world title had the most matches.
And whoever of course the locked character was that they showed on the screen, because when you would go pick which title you wanted to play for, it showed a black silhouette of the person that was the champion that you had to face. So, and a lot of those guys that were unlockable were like those champions.
Yeah.
So I'm this definitely makes me really want to bust this game out, like literally right now, and play it.
I thought the same thing when we were talking about Zelda, because I could bust that game out at any point in time and just sit and play.
Well, man, you are more than welcome to come over and play it, because
I think I might.
So, of course, you'd have to drive 2 hours, but
that'd be the iffy part. But hey, it might be worth it though, to be able to play some old school games again. So, that pretty much wraps up what I had. I really wish I would have been able to play some more videos.
Well, you switched to your laptop, right?
No, it's the same. It's still the laptop. I just have it plugged in now. I just moved my laptop from over there to over here so I can plug it in. So it's the same. I mean, I'll play. I'll see if this plays here, and we can. This is some gameplay of Revenge. It doesn't jack up on us. It's actually not a very long video at all, honestly.
Dang, really? The Giant making the Macho Man tap out due to a chokehold?
Tap out with a chokehold. Oops, and that's all I had for that, because the biggest video was the entrance one, but
because that thing's like a couple minutes long. It's like 2 or 3 minutes long, I think.
It was because the entrances took a while in that game, like especially if you had 2 people doing their taunt at the stage, and then you'd walk out to the ring, they do that in the ring. So, but again, I thought that was the coolest The coolest thing, man. I would, and people would get, and it was just, I remember specifically for Revenge and with No Mercy is like people would be ready to play. Like they're ready to let's fight each other. But I'm like, hey, do not skip the entrances. Like we're going to watch all 4 of our entrances from the start to finish. And if you click A, I'm quitting and we're going to do it again.
Yeah. You know what? You know whose entrance was probably the funniest was La Parka's.
Yeah.
He'd come out. He'd come out. No, he'd come out in the chair. Yeah, he would do all that. He'd come out in the chair, and then he'd do this questionable gesture. That yeah, it was like, what were they thinking? So
that's funny. That's funny, dude. You got anything else you want to chat about? Because that's kind of runs down the bottom of my list for this game. So
no, man, I mean, I wish we had a little bit more videos and they worked and stuff like that.
Next week will be on my normal setup. I'll be cooked up. Hopefully, we'll see if it doesn't have a blue screen again, but I'll be sure to be connected and have a little bit more. I do have, like I said, we'll move into some pop culture, and I'll see if I have one video for that. We'll see if it works. But if you got nothing else, let's start talking pop culture for October of 1998. I have only seen this movie once that I can remember.
I bet I have it.
Do you think you know what it is?
No, but I bet I have it. Okay, no, I don't. Ew, no.
The Bride of Chucky.
Good Lord.
Was released in October of 1998. I was not a huge Chucky fan. I didn't watch very many of those movies, but I think I've watched each one of them at least once just to kind of watch it through. So,
yeah, the only real scary movie that the Chucky was like 1 and 2.
Yeah,
probably the first one more than the second one, but yeah. I do not actually own any of the Chucky movies, and I probably I guarantee you, Autumn. She definitely saw it.
Yeah. TV show. This one I know of it, and I might have seen an episode or two. I don't know. I don't have any memory of it.
No.
But it is
Charmed.
Charmed.
Yes. Rest in peace to Shannon Doherty.
Yes. So this show debuted in October of 1998, first season. So I know it was super popular. I'm not sure how many seasons they ran, but
it ran quite a while. And,
yeah.
And then they have a remake of it now. So
yep. And Autumn's never seen it, but have heard of it. Yep. And then the toy that came out, this one is definitely a nostalgic feel. If you were born and a little bit older in the 90s, you'll definitely remember this one. Let's see if the video will play.
What's that? It's my Furby, the first gigapet you pet.
Pet me.
Teach to say her name.
Me? Noodle.
Play games.
Peek Bab. Oh.
And love you back.
what was that thing just called?
Your Furby's me.
Minacles. Furby loves you, love and
Me love you.
Furby, the gigapet.
Furby. Do you own a Furby, Stitch?
No. If I did, I'd probably kick it across the street. And I definitely wouldn't leave it alone in the dark.
No. Oh no. That thing start talking to you while you're sleeping.
Yeah. No.
Oh, that's great. Dude, I love this, like, because I mean, not only are we talking about like games that we played growing up, but I mean, this has us looking back at what was released, what was popular, what was going on at the same time. Is there anything else like pop culture wise that we could look up besides movies, TV shows, toys for like future episodes? Or should we play more? Like, I know we can't really play the actual movie because they will like definitely shut us down. But we could definitely at some point in time. We already kind of talked about it on the first episode, but like if we decided to do a movie or we can't do a TV show unless it's got minimal amount of episodes, but we can do like a review one of these days. Definitely, we both are. Speaking of wrestling, we're both huge fans of Ready to Rumble. That
you know what? That is a episode that is probably 2 or 3 hours long, just for that movie.
Yeah, and that movie definitely would have to have at least the three of us with Chase. Brody would probably want to get on it with us as well.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be a 4-man crew on that one, but that one's probably in the future. Maybe if we get to a point where we're like, you know what, we don't have any games we have any ideas for, we'll throw that out there. But man,
Ready to Rumble is not only was it a great wrestling movie, at least for wrestling fans.
Weirdly enough, it really wasn't. Like it was so
because the critics just did not. Yeah, they tore that movie apart.
It did. It was awfully rated. Yeah. But I mean, for the hardcore wrestling fans, it's got that niche group of people that almost like I'm drawing a blank on what you'd call it, like somebody, like I guess like a cult following kind of thing, like a very small cult following that absolutely love it, and you, me, Chase, Brody are all part of that.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that's it. That's the episode. We went 1 hour and 21 minutes. Definitely our longest episode. You were probably right. You mentioned maybe just doing the one game. I think it worked out pretty good. Honestly, we knocked both of them out. It'll probably be the same thing talking about Warzone and Attitude.
Yeah,
it'll probably be like an hour and a half long episode. I didn't play Attitude very much. I was definitely more Warzone than I was Attitude, but yeah. Let us know if you're listening right now. Just put in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching us at, what game you want us to cover next, and we will do our best to do some research if we have not played it significantly, and make an episode about it. So let us know. We'll definitely consider every recommendation that you guys have, specifically 80s, 90s, early 2000s. We don't want to get too terribly current. If we can help it. So, Stich, you got anything else before we close this out?
No, man.
All right. Well, for this is episode 3 of Nostalgia Mania. Next week we'll probably be live on Wednesday. Definitely not on Tuesday. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott. For my co-host, Derrick Stichamania Stich. We are not. Hang on, sorry. I'm not prepared for this.
I'm not prepared.
Uh-oh. I didn't put the ending video on the right. Anyway, I had to clear off the background. This is the real Josh Elliott. That's Derrick Stichamania Stich. This is Nostalgia Mania. We'll see you guys next week. Let's get nostalgic.